that's feeling I like it. Like you have to just accept that.
I guess you would also like heroin if you try.
Possible, yeah.
Would this then also be like fine to live your life like searching for heroin?
Yeah, yeah. Like your goals which have developed through a causal chain, like really depends on that. Again, causal chain is still there. You're just at the end accepting the final feeling. So if your causal chain tells you that heroin is the best thing in the world now, and you're just going to do that, it's subjective. You can still do that. Just do that. Okay, it's fine.
You really don't believe in objective good and bad?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Hey guys, welcome to the Rational Optimization Podcast. My guest today is Nikhil Yadav. He's a student of cognitive science and artificial intelligence from India, and he gave a talk about the connection between moral and evolution. And because of this talk, it was really interesting. I invited him to come on my podcast and to talk about this. And it was super interesting because he truly believes that there is no free will, and he doesn't believe it like most people. I think most people that think a lot about this, I for my part, I for example, start to not believe in free will anymore, but he truly not believes in free will. Like I really try to challenge him and really try to find like the points where normal people start to reword thinking in like free will, but somehow he did not. And yeah, it was super interesting to talk to someone that is has such a deep understanding of what he believes in. We also connected this with judging other people, and yeah, I really liked talking to him. Enjoy.
So you gave a talk about evolution and morality.
Yep.
How did you get to this topic? Why did you?
I think, there are two components, evolution and morality. Evolution, I went into it through the concept of determinism and free will. That was like kind of the way that I started to think about, okay, there's no free will and determinism is true. That was my first bias. Like I always had the bias of everything is determined. Like it was very obvious to me that it is the case. I never questioned it. Only later I found out that, okay, and as I'm growing up, I'm coming into like teenage years, I'm finding these ideas of God and stuff like that. It's like, okay, there are people that are like questioning this idea of like cause and effect. Like, what does that even mean? Like, how can like effects come out of a void, just like come from somewhere? Like, how is that possible? Like, that was the question like that I really wanted to like answer. And so from there I also started to go into a lot of physics too, and I'm not like an expert in physics, but really that I think is one of my goals, that I really want to understand the physical theories, quantum mechanics and relativity like to their core someday. So that's a pretty high goal, but yeah, I think it will be very difficult.
So you started out by trying to find out if there's free will, or trying to
understand like what do like people mean when they say like there is no free will, or there is free will. Like what is free will? Like what do you mean by that even? Like what do you mean by free there? Like what's the definition of free? And I have not found like any satisfactory answer till yet.
So not even you didn't find an answer if free will exists?
Yeah, like what even is the definition
what
of
even
free will?
Should free will? Okay.
Yeah, I know what will is like, but what is free? Like, what do you mean by that the will is free?
What do you believe? Like what is the closest you are in the moment? Like what is the definition?
To me, it would be like it was always and is currently now that there is no like free will, but that like first you have to define free for that. And to me, there's like, however way you define free, it's bounded by something. So it's not free. Like, what do you even mean by that?
Problem here is that I really agree. So I don't know if we can have a really strong argument about this, because I also think This really
To
good.
me, same as the case with many ideas, like whether you go into philosophy of mind with consciousness or you go into some economic theories of capitalism about free market, but like, what does that mean? Like, there are many, ways to talk about it.
Whatever you can say is free is always, you can always find a reason for it.
Yeah.
And
Like there's
yeah.
a chain of cause and effect that we have till now that found that many of the things happen in this chain of cause and effect. Now I think there are two like questions that I think people could ask about this idea of determinism. One would be like, if there's a chain of events, like who's the starter of the chain? And that's how people in earlier days used to say that, okay, maybe that's God. Like God is like the first being who starts this chain of events. But then that's why I went, because of this reason, into general relativity and understanding the Big Bang theory. And what does that even mean? It's not that if something just comes out, even in a Big Bang, it's not as if something just comes out of a void. So where does it come out from, really? Why does something even exist here? So once you get into general relativity, I think many people don't know that, but the thing that I found out was that as you go back in time, like if you had a time machine and you just go back in time, the further you go back in time, because the space is more compressed, like space itself is more compressed.
There is less space.
Space is there, but it's compressed. So there's essentially more space in an area, kind of, because space now is expanding. Like that's the Big Bang theory, that it started from somewhere and the space is now expanding everywhere. So if you go back, space will be compressed.
But isn't there just less space?
You could say like there's less space to go like around, but it's the space is compressed in the fact that there's a curvature to space. Now it's a very abstract idea.
Curator? Curator?
Like, you know how like in general relativity how gravity works is that if you have any kind of mass or energy in any point in space, that mass or energy, they are both equivalent, em equals mc square, they curve the space time itself. So that curvature would means that, because the space is curved in a sense, so it's not a straight line, so you take like more time to go from A to B because it's kind of curved. Now, there are mathematical like formulations to that, and I'm afraid we cannot obviously go into that here. But yeah,
Okay, and
it's a very crazy idea, general relativity.
and like before, like if you go back in time where space was more compressed,
yeah.
this means there's this like it's like really curved in this.
Yeah,
so you
yeah,
take
you can
really
say-
long to get from one place to
Yeah,
another.
so that means like the time itself was slower compared to the time we have now. That's a really crazy idea.
Okay,
Yeah.
but this,
And we even got like in January or something, when new evidence we looked past for some like things called quasars, which are kind of can act as like cosmic clocks, which can tell us how fast the time is moving. And when we look at like some galaxies at like 10 billion years or some distance, then we can see that the time was kind of slower there. So we kind of got some evidence for it. But yeah, general theory of relativity, it predicts that it will happen. If you have Big Bang, it will happen that time would be slower.
in the beginning.
So the further you go back, the further the time like gets slower. So if you have a time machine and you're going back, you can never reach the 0 point.
because it gets slower and slower and slower.
Yeah.
Oh, so it gets like infinite. So it never, it
It's like
never touches
exponentially gets like,
It goes like, but you never really get to zero.
Yeah.
So you never get to the big.
So like
Yeah.
you cannot even say like it started somewhere. Like where does it start? Like what does that even mean? What does start mean? Like because Big Bang is kind of the thing where like space and time itself were created. Like time itself was created. So that's the idea.
Damn. Okay, and you went deep
And-
into this.
Yeah, yeah, it was like I'm still not. I don't completely understand it, but yeah, like especially in the winter breaks, I think I'll go a lot more deeper into the mathematics of it. Yeah, it will be.
How did you went about doing this? Did you just start reading books, or
Yeah, it's books and Wikipedia. I think that's still a great source. Some people disagree, but I think it's a pretty good source.
yeah?
I think it's Wikipedia is like one of those things which is in some instances better than going out there and reading research papers,
why?
because science itself, I think it's more of a collective endeavor, and you have to have generalists in certain positions who generalizes the scientific knowledge, and Wikipedia is kind of the way of a community coming together and generalizing that knowledge. So if you can go there and you read 100 papers on Big Bang, it will take like 2 years or whatever, but then you will still be at the same point which Wikipedia will already tell you.
Like Wikipedia is just a really good summary that is like connected to other things as well. And like,
it connects to everything. So like I know this, so I can research this separately.
yeah, okay. Yeah, I agree that this linking system of Wikipedia is really nice.
Yeah.
What I use in my note-taking system as well. But I still think, if you read 100 papers, you probably know a lot more. Like,
a lot more, but like you wouldn't know with accuracy a lot more. You would know with like precision. Maybe you would know how to ask questions, like more deeper questions. But the accuracy that is in all those scientific, like 100 papers, what they actually tell us, that will eventually be summarized in Wikipedia.
Okay, so like the ground messages in Wikipedia. What the basic finding, like without the fancy everything around. The core of okay, the core is there. Okay, so how did determinism take you to think about evolution and morality, or
I think I also talked in
free will, and then free will went into understanding where everything comes from, or understanding the universe.
Determinism, the universe, like how this chain of events that's just happening. And evolution then would just be that chain of events just applied to the organic world. There's nothing in evolution which says something comes out of a void. And so the interesting idea then is, okay, through evolution, now humans develop. And then they have this thing called cultural evolution, which is again just determinism applied. So it's all determinism. And then through cultural evolution, you get morality. And morality is, I think about it just as my idea of what you should do. And I think there's two kinds of morality that I like to distinguish between, this distinction I got from Friedrich Nietzsche, the philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche, that there was a distinction between good and bad and good and evil. Like you can distinguish between these two kinds of morality.
What is the difference?
Like good and bad is just like how a simple like animal, a cow or something would have morality in a sense. That is just something is bad for me, so I'm against it. Something is good for me, so I'm for it. Good and evil is more like the evil exists somewhere. Like it's a religious idea. Like Nietzsche linked it to more Judaism and Christianity, that there's this idea of evil that exists somewhere. Like which is
objective.
Objective kind of evil.
So the difference is between good and bad morality would be subjective?
But their morality is just what is good for me, what is bad for me.
Okay, so
and only your actions determine, like I can only determine your actions. Your actions are good, your actions are bad. Like in good and evil, it will be like you are evil. Like the evil exists inside of you. It's kind of that idea.
And okay, if you would, I have to understand those two things. So if you only would have good and bad morality, not the good and evil, then I would say the thing you do is bad because it's bad for me.
Yeah.
So because I am hungry and you eat like the last piece of pizza, so you do something that is bad.
Yeah. Or other ways, like I'm from one tribe and you're from another tribe, and we have some common resource that we want, and we just fight over that. It's not that you're evil, but that we just have limited resources and we're going to fight over that, and I'm just going to kill you or something.
Is this morality?
Yeah, this is like one kind of morality. That this is mine, so you shouldn't take this.
Yeah,
this is my idea of you shouldn't take this.
But does this morality also imply that I don't take something from you? Like if this is my morality and you like good and bad morality, does this also imply that I don't steal from you?
It does not imply, because it is subjective. Yeah. So it's like it really depends on each individual. But you can get some society out of this. It's not less if everyone just goes in an anarchic phase, because like I would not attack you because maybe then you will attack me and I'll just die. So we have some compromises to make. So you can still get society out of this. It's not just a cynical way of looking at things or something.
I don't really get the distinction. Like, okay, good and evil morality is that there is something that is objectively bad. Or is it that there are actions that are objectively bad, or is it that there is something like the devil that is objectively bad?
Can be both. Yeah.
So, but it can also
you can.
It can also mean that, let's say, I don't believe in like the devil or anything, but I say it's objectively bad to cause suffering. Let's say this. Would this be good and evil morality?
Yeah, this would be good and evil. I think that's also one of the reasons that many like philosophers and like people in general would say that even the atheists today are religious. Like some people say that. The reasons they say that is because even for atheists now, there is some kind of like evil that they think of.
Yeah.
Like even when you would ask someone, do you think morality is subjective or objective? And someone maybe is an atheist and like, no, it's just subjective. But if you see their actions, they're like, you're hating something. Maybe you're hating. Maybe some children are dying somewhere and you're hating the person who's killing them. But like, what's that hate? Like,
if there's no good and bad, where should it come from? Exactly. Okay, I get this part, like the good and evil morality. But for me, this good and evil morality somehow is like all morality. What exactly is the good and bad morality? Like what exactly is?
Maybe like an example of it would be just like how would morality look like in a chimpanzee society?
They have morality?
They have an idea of you should not do that.
Yeah.
Like, so they have a social thing and they have an idea of you should not do that.
So you don't eat the banana of the alpha male. Like,
yeah.
Is because then he will beat you up probably.
Like,
I don't know. So this is okay. This is just something I think many people don't call it morality, right? It's like,
I think I would say like some people call it, I think.
Because it's like, it's good and bad, but I think many people wouldn't say this is morality. I think many people would say that only the good and evil is but we can define both as morality. If you define morality as something that gives good and bad. Like morality is the thing.
It's just something that comes out of people just or entities just interacting with each other. So you are in a multi-agent system and you have your individualistic goals. And for those purpose of those individualistic goals, you create like things for others, like a shoulds kind of for others. So that's just a definition of morality that you can have. And that's what Nietzsche and the philosophers before and after him would say, that that's like a definition of morality. And you can have then bad and good, and then you can have evil and good.
Mm. Okay.
So in his book, he's kind of attacking this idea of idealistic or some kind of morality which is out there.
So Nietzsche is arguing against good and evil morality.
Yeah, but he's giving like a historical perspective on it. I cannot verify that, but he's like looking at the words that there are in different languages for things like good, bad, and evil, and he's saying that the word for evil, the way that we define them, is coming like later, after we have this Judaism and Christianity, and was not in something which was like pre-Christian Greeks or Romans. They had a very different kind of morality, the morality of like good and just bad.
But they also believed that there's something out there, right?
They believed in gods. Yeah. But for them, like their gods were also very like, for us, they will be very evil.
Yeah. True.
Like some of the Greek gods were like very evil.
Yeah.
So they just defined them as like powerful beings who just do like whatever they want. And yeah, they don't define them as like good beings. And even in the Indian kind of religions, we don't define gods as good beings.
So they're just beings.
They're just beings, just powerful beings. Yeah.
Okay, so we have good and bad morality and good and evil morality. And Nietzsche says that good and evil morality is something that is not that doesn't exist because it's different everywhere in the world, like or between times, right?
So his idea is kind of, he's looking at the history and he's kind of making a historical perspective here. So he's saying that before, the ruling class would be like the aristocratic class, who is like, I'll just do whatever I want. That's like the aristocratic class. And then he's saying that the aristocrats are powerful, and then he's comparing them to the lower classes. And he's saying like, with Christianity, somehow this balance like reversed with this idea of the meek shall inherit the earth. Yeah, somehow this reversed, that now like the lower classes, like if you are lower,
you're better.
Yeah, like if you don't have money, then I have some sympathy for you, but if you're a billionaire, then it's like, no. Yeah.
True.
That kind of thing.
And before it was different the other way around, right?
Yeah, like it was just power based, like aristocrat, I'm an aristocrat, and yeah.
I get this.
So you're just making a historical comparison of how this inversion happens.
And this is an argument for why good and evil doesn't exist, because it changes, or
I mean, like both good and bad is subjective, and good and evil is, it's the kind of the objective idea doesn't exist, but he's saying that it's a tool that has been created, this idea of good and evil, to like to invert this thing. It's a tool.
So before this inversion, there was only good and bad.
Yeah. And I mean, it's very simplistic, but like it's like a kind of the general idea, yeah.
And this, like, then good and evil morality was created, and this creation flipped like the natural order, the natural hierarchy, where like the rich people are the good people and the poor people are.
Yeah. Because he also looked at words, and words related to rich and noble and aristocrat, they all were like the words that said good. Like they were like very close, the words good and these things. So he was a kind of philologist. Philologist means he like used to study languages and how words evolved. Yeah.
Okay. So you went into this topic, and what exactly was your take? Like, what do you believe is morality, or where does it come from?
I have the subjective idea of morality because I am coming from that deterministic perspective. So yeah, I think it's very subjective. Things like meaning, morality, those sort of things.
So the connection, yeah, okay. You believe that morality is subjective, so there's no objective evil. Like there's
Yeah.
And morality came from evolution. Is this?
Yeah. That was, I think, even Nietzsche's idea was he was coming with the evolutionary perspective.
Okay, so I really like this idea with the chain of reasoning you brought, like the not chain of reasoning, but chain of coming into existence. I don't know, like that in the beginning, like there was the Big Bang and this or whatever, and this caused something else, and this caused something else, and this caused like the Earth to exist, and this caused like evolution, life to start. This caused evolution, and this caused human to exist, and like everything has a reason, and like nothing is nothing is truly free. Like, yeah. Do you?
I think I would also say that the way that I linked to morality, why morality came here after determinism, was that I was seeing that people have very like these ideas about what other people should do, and they have some kind of like hatred. Like people have that. Even if they don't want to believe that, they have hatred for someone who is a child killer.
Yeah.
Say hatred for maybe Hitler or something.
Yeah.
And they don't have hatred for earthquakes.
True.
Which is it's a kind of a good tool, hatred for other humans. But in the end, it is just a tool.
So you say like hatred, even against humans, is irrational?
Irrational in the sense that it's not, we don't rationally think about that. So in that sense, it's irrational. But it's rational in the sense that it's a tool that has been developed by evolution and cultural evolution.
Because this tool helps us to survive.
Yeah, this tool just, yeah.
Okay, so we have the hatred tool, because if people start hating people that do stuff that is bad for surviving of their genes or humanity or their culture or something, then they are more likely to survive. Like, or the cultures in which like something like hatred was prevalent were more likely to survive. But this doesn't make hatred right.
Like, this is just a survival tool.
Yeah.
Like, also, but there's another perspective of saying that maybe because hatred is not one of the primary emotions. Like, for psychologists would sometimes divide emotions into these very primary emotions of things like anger and care, and even play is also defined as a primary emotion. But hatred is never defined as a primary emotion. It's always defined as a human emotion, and its interactions are always defined through the frontal cortex, which is like the major part of what makes us human.
So hatred is something that developed later.
Yeah. It requires some like valuing of other people, like thinking, valuing, and that part. I think one of the studies that I read had the idea that the valuation comes from the frontal cortex, that valuation of humans. So not just valuing the actions of what is good and bad for me and what's happening good and bad, but I value you as a human.
So that you are good or bad. Not
yeah. So that evil is there in you, and I'm going to value that evil or bad or good.
So wait, so it's the difference between saying you did something that is bad or you are bad.
Yeah.
And this is this hatred circuit or whatever in your brain.
Yeah.
And that's an interesting idea.
And yeah, evolution develops like very interesting tools. I mean, hatred, and I think in my talk, I also talked about the idea of the responsibility. Like, what is responsibility? Like, people say that one should be like responsible for something. Like, that is also, at least I think, a tool, a really good tool. And that is something that you can see, for example, in politics, where someone would say that maybe someone is poor, and so they are poor, so they don't have opportunities, so they don't have some things to grow, and yeah, that's why they committed some crime. And on the other hand, someone would say they should have some responsibility for that. So it's like, even in politics and law and stuff like that, people are assigning like responsibilities to some people and not assigning responsibilities to some people. So this idea of the causal chain, so you're looking at some people and thinking that, oh, some causal chain occurred that allowed that person to make some action. But then on the other hand, you're looking at someone else and saying that they are responsible for their actions. People are making that distinction right now. Like, they would say, like, someone in America was very poor. Like, maybe they are poor because, yeah, there was certain cause of events that happened, so they're poor. And then they would say, like, maybe this politician, like, they would be very angry against this politician or would have some disgust even. And they would say that there's something bad in him, like in him. Yeah. People are making that distinction.
The difference between between attributing to the person itself or the person, and also also with morality, you're right. Like there's a difference in somebody. There's a difference when people commit like crimes, and if there are like different things that brought people to it, like if it was maybe like a teenager that was like in some kind of gang and they made him do something, then you would say, okay, it's different than when somebody decides himself to commit the same crime.
That's the idea of decide himself. So what does that mean? And that's, people use that in courts, like in court cases.
Yeah. And your argument is that somehow everything is determined, or
everything is determined. So this thing, that assignment of responsibility, that is like, in that sense, just a tool of cultural evolution.
Yeah.
It's just a tool. And it can be good tool, it can be bad tool. Depends on what your goals are. Now that's another interesting conversation, what your goals are.
Yeah. If you want, we can go in there. What are your goals, man?
My goals.
We can also go into the goals of the society, but I think it's really hard to define.
Yeah.
Wait, but before we go into your goals, because I want to ask you about this anyway, but so the idea that, like, about society, we could say that the goal of society is the same goal that is of, like, this. If you go from the evolutionary lens, societies also just want to survive, or just try to survive, or better, they don't try to survive, but those societies that survived are the ones that still exist. The ones that have the best mechanisms to survive are the ones that are here. So it's maybe useful for societies to do to make this a signing of, okay, you are responsible for this and you are not, because it is true. Like some people, like there would be no point in punishing someone that did something by accident or
exactly.
But like if you go or did something because like people tricked him into doing this or something. This is like there's a difference. But if you look like in the grand scheme, like there's always a reason for something. Like
someone who says that they decided to do some crime.
Yeah.
Like what does that mean? They decided. They still have some causal chain behind them that led them to them deciding it.
Yeah.
So in a sense, I also think maybe that the feeling that we have of this control and of deciding, it could also be something that could have culturally or through just genetic evolution could have arisen. Because if I say that I did that, that means you then have an idea of that I did it willingly. So you can, like, society can then select those people who do not commit crime and who willingly commit crime. So they can differentiate them and then do a selection process. So that can also be one of the cases, just a hypothesis.
So you gave a talk about this in Enigma, like a talk about the difference. I really like all the ideas, you know? I agree with many of them, or with nearly all of them. But what exactly is like your point? Like, can you like...
Yeah. I think for me, like subjectively, considering my subjective morality, I would like to see like a world where people just try to understand each other more. And I think understanding can be achieved, like if we think in these terms of the deterministic world and do not like just shy away from it. And this is something that you have to practice. It doesn't come like automatically. You have to like keep practicing it.
So
it's very automatic to see a video of someone, as I said, just shooting a child. You just saw the video and something happened in your mind. It's very automatic. So you have to then think rationally about that, like how that person killed the child because some events led to that person killing the child. So that you can be yourself, have less anxiety about that, and you can be more positive about changing that. If you do want to change that, you can change that more positively.
Yeah. So you want to explain this to people because that's that way that they have more understanding about existence, and that way they can make better choices, and that way
it's kind of like the grand like inhibition system that you can have. At least it works for me that way, that whenever almost never get angry or hateful like that nowadays, but whenever I used to get, it always worked, like thinking in these terms. Just keep practicing and practicing, and eventually you can just remove the hatred out of you.
So understanding this is a way to not hate anymore.
Could use that, or
because you can always see why a person does, like you always, there's no bad person, there's just a person that
it's like an earthquake or something
situations led the person to do something.
Now that doesn't mean that you don't take actions. You can still take action. You can kill Hitler or whatever.
To prevent him from doing this again and again.
Because you have to understand, you are also a person who has a causal chain of events coming to. So.
Okay, so you want to spread this understanding because you think this will help people.
Yeah, especially in a world where we will have I don't know what the problems will come with AI, but we do have nuclear weapons, and we are like creating technologies that can destroy us. Like nuclear weapons is really obvious. Yeah. So if we have a world where people are just hating each other just because they're not able to think that people have causal chains, that's like
yeah.
So I think eventually people will look back in history and they will not say that someone was on right side of history or on wrong side of history. They will just say that they were just people, just like a bunch of atoms. Just things were just happening.
So now we don't do it this way, right? Like, because when we now look back in history, we say Hitler was bad.
Yeah, some people say it's fine because it was historical, but I think still a lot of people, and I would say majority of people, do say that, do have this feeling or idea of,
So I agree with you that this feeling and idea is irrational, but I think you also said it's still useful.
Yeah.
If you want to...
It's useful for someone in a tribe or something, but if we want to create a global society, like this is not a useful way to create, like to take global decisions, to elect people who take global decisions with no understanding of this.
But still, like...
But still, like that's my subjective thing.
Yeah.
Someone's goal could be just to destroy the world, and they don't care. Like,
But then, like, if there's a person that wants to destroy the world, okay, maybe we still would stop this person, right? It's not. You say, okay, probably this person that wants to destroy the world has like a causal chain behind him that made him want
but you can still stop him. You can kill him. Yeah.
Doesn't mean that you are like, oh, it's fine. Just destroy the world.
Yeah, exactly. It's not like,
Okay. Yeah. But it doesn't mean that you have to hate the person.
Yeah, understanding just means that you just understand the world. It doesn't tell you about what actions you should take. It's just, you have a goal, you have an action, and understanding is the middle part of, like gives you context about that. So you can still have your goal. You can still do the same actions.
Yeah, okay. I get this. So, man. So, what are your goals?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I think I do have defined like one of my long-term goals. When I was coming out of school, I had really like problems with defining like what do I want to do in life. That's, I guess, teenager phase. And there, I really think the thing that drives me is curiosity. And like I'd really go deep into things. So if I find some mathematical idea, even I would like do some mathematical equations for 2 days. I will just keep doing them. Like it's very interesting to me. So I think curiosity is the thing that drives me. And I basically want to understand specifically how the human mind works, the brain and the human experience, and also how physics works. Like what's the general ideas? Like what's the general ideas behind the world working?
So you want to basically understand everything.
Everything.
Nice.
Yeah. If I could, like that's,
I mean, we can make a team. I also, it's also part of my goal. Why?
I cannot answer why.
Why?
Because I don't have the access to the causal chain.
Okay.
It's a feeling that comes from within me. And I have accepted that feeling, that I like it when I find some new thing. I really like it when I find some really good equations or something.
Okay, so you say that your past just let you, or something, or your past, your genes, whatever, like the causal chain, let you to like to discover, explore want to understand.
At some point, if you want to really define your goals, you have to come to an like axiomatic like truth. And for me, the basic truth is that I do have this feeling that I know that is good when I find something like new.
Okay, but this is also probably caused by evolution, because evolution wants you to...
Yeah. And all of that doesn't really matter that much, but yeah.
Because everything is caused by evolution.
Yeah.
Then it's just, I think it's really cool how you handle this way of thinking about evolution, because I know many people, when you would talk to them like this, they're like, oh, this feels so like, this is like somehow you don't really have agency, but somehow you do. Like,
okay,
if you explain everything by a causal chain behind you, then it means that you essentially have no free will, like where we started.
Yeah, I mean, I think Schopenhauer, another philosopher, he had this saying that maybe you know that we can do what we want, but we cannot want what we want. So we have agency in the sense that we want things. So we have will, but we just don't have the will to change our will.
So, that's interesting. So our goals, or the stuff we want is predetermined, but how we act on this is our decisions. Yeah. And of course, probably it's also like physical processes that make us do this, but still it's...
So even in this causal chain, you have to somehow, like somewhere you have to accept your feelings. You have to do that. I think that's very crucial. You have to accept that, oh, I found some new thing, I like it. That's feeling I like it. Like you have to just accept that.
I guess you would also like heroin if you try.
Possible, yeah.
Would this then also be like fine to live your life like searching for heroin?
It really just depends on your like your goals, which have developed through a causal chain, like really depends on that. Again, causal chain is still there. You're just at the end accepting the final feeling. So if your causal chain tells you that heroin is the best thing in the world now, and you're just going to do that, it's subjective. You can still do that. Just do that. Okay, it's fine.
So you don't believe in... you really don't believe in objective good and bad.
Oh yeah, objective and bad,
yeah. That's cool, because I think you're the first person on this podcast, except me, that... or no, I'm not sure. I'm working on it, but you're probably also not sure.
Yeah, exactly.
But
all of these ideas can be questioned.
Exactly. But the first person that really not believes in objective good and bad. Like many people say they don't believe in objective good and bad, but there's something like the same thing you
even
said.
For me, like there's something, like I'm not like perfect in that sense.
It feels bad when somebody kills a child, like for no reason. It's bad. And when many people say, no, there's no objective good and bad, but when you come with an example like this, then it's like, this is bad. It's like, well, why?
And even if you say that that's still objective, you just go there and like put them in a machine and make them watch videos and then measure their brain, and you will see the activities there. It's not. Even for me, like when I watch some of these videos, I still have the feelings somewhat, but for me, because I've like practiced a lot about that, so to me, like in a few seconds I can just change that.
But it is just in our evolution to believe that things are good and bad. So it's also something that our causal chain let us have. So it's also something that just like that we humans are predisposed to believe in good and bad is also nothing that is good or bad. I really like this thinking. It's interesting to find a person that truly, it's actually really interesting because you're like one of the first people that I found. I truly, like, of course, I'm not 100% sure about any of my opinions, but you're like, the things you say are pretty close to the stuff I believe in the moment as well. Okay, so, but still, you also want to good in the world, because what I heard you like giving this, just the fact that you gave this talk and you say, okay, I want to tell this to people because this way people understand the world better, because this is better if people understand the world better.
So I have my subjective sense of good and bad. I have a hierarchy of what is good and bad. I still have that. I can have that as subjectively, and I can still say objectively it doesn't exist.
Yeah. That's so interesting.
Yeah.
That's so interesting to meet another person that's like, okay, yeah, you have, or no, I'm actually different, because I believe that there's I forgot. I believe that it's objectively meaningful to search for something objectively meaningful. So I actually don't fully agree with you, but how deep you believe in this, I think this is, or how deep you thought through this, that is like, it's like all is underlying from this causal chain.
The thing is, like, it's really hard to get away from that causal chain. Like we can go to the idea of where does causal chain even start from. We don't have like conclusive answers on that. Depends upon the definition of start. Time started at Big Bang, and another be like we can go to quantum mechanics and say there's some randomness there.
Like randomness doesn't give you free will.
Exactly. Doesn't give you free will, but there's still a question on the idea of cause and effect. So I also want to understand that, like, quantum mechanics and how does that even work.
You should read David Deutsch. You know David Deutsch?
Yeah. I mean, I did get a little bit into it, very generally, the quantum mechanics.
Yeah.
And from what I've seen, there's no consensus on the idea of that is there any true randomness or not. There's still no consensus. Yeah.
But like there either is randomness or determinism. Like what? Yeah.
Yeah. Even if like something random exists, then we don't have determinism.
Yeah, but if something random exists, like this still doesn't mean that things are not determined. Like even like maybe they are not determined, because you can't see in the future. You can't see in the future because random things can happen. But this doesn't mean that you have like free will or agency. Like just because there's chance.
And especially like our brain is a very like complex system, and in all complex systems the randomness just disappears. Like in quantum mechanics, if you have a very complex system, the randomness just disappears.
Explain.
How does we will talk about, let's say, the Copenhagen interpretation of quantum mechanics, because just one interpretation.
Explain for a second.
Where the Copenhagen interpretation says that the true randomness exists.
Yeah. So there are like quantum fluctuations or whatever. And
So we define like things called like quantum waves. And quantum waves this is called quantum field theory, and in which every single particle, like electron, is not just like, there are 20 like millions or trillions of electrons, but they are just part of one single wave. Like in the entire universe, there's just one electron wave. And if the wave is like higher here, you have an electron there. If the wave is just higher there, you have two electrons. So there's just one wave. And that's because there's just one wave. That's why entanglement can work, because just waves are coming together, they exchange their properties, and then they go their separate ways. So that's why interaction in that sense can work between two particles.
Okay, so
you have this quantum wave. And the Copenhagen interpretation is just that if when you measure an electron, the wave around that electron that we had, that collapses into one point. Like that, this idea of collapse. And this is the most controversial idea in the interpretation, because there's no explanation of why this happens. Like why does it happen that when you take a measurement, something just comes into its place, and before it was just so random.
Okay. So we have the Copenhagen interpretation, and this tells us why randomness, or that randomness exists.
It just says that randomness exists.
Okay. Where were we before? Because you wanted to explain something with the Copenhagen interpretation.
Yeah, because if you measure something and it collapses the wave function. So what is measurement? Measurement is just an interaction with something. Like I interact with a particle because I just got some photons from it. So I know that it's at this position. And in very complex systems like the brain, all the particles are just interacting with each other.
Yeah.
So all of the particles have their waves are like collapsed.
Wait, okay. So in the moment you observe, you stop the randomness, because then you know, like...
Yeah, observation means interaction with it.
Yeah, in the moment then in the moment before it can be, it wasn't this, it's like superposition or something.
It's this like, kind of thing like this, is more spread out.
So for the people that listen and don't know, maybe tell me if I'm wrong, because I can just define my words. So we don't really know where an electron, for example, is until we observe it.
Yep.
And in the moment we observe it, it's like before we observe it, it can be on multiple places, or it's like everywhere at once. And in the moment we observe it, it is somewhere, and then like only then it is somewhere. Is this?
Yeah. That's like the Copenhagen interpretation. There are many different interpretations of it. Some are like, there's something called superdeterminism, which is like just determinism. There's also an interpretation for that. There's many worlds interpretation, where it says that if you measure a particle, you just entered into a new world, and all of the other positions of the particle are just now new universes.
This is similar to David Deutsch.
Yeah.
Okay, wait. So we have this now, and in your brain, every particle is interacting with other particles.
Yeah.
So for this reason, there is no superposition in your brain. There's no...
Yeah, particles are not in
yeah, exactly, because they are all because they're interacting, they all have like a space.
Yeah.
They are not like...
That's why in the macro space, things are just deterministic. There's no randomness in the macro world.
Wait, macro means big, right?
Yeah. Just drop an apple, it will just drop however many times I do the experiment.
But if every electron is like a little more on one side.
Yeah.
At once. Can't this change something? Couldn't this like create, like if I flip a coin?
Yeah.
And for some reason, all the electrons from all their superpositions are like all on one side of the coin. Like,
yeah.
Like, or not on one side, but like more on one side. And for this reason, like the coin falls a little bit differently. Isn't this possible? Or
yeah. The electrons are changing positions all the time.
But because
they're under influence from
because of randomness.
Forces.
Like, is it possible that is there true randomness when I flip a coin, or is
not in flipping a coin, but when you like observe like an electron in an atom, like when you to observe it, you have to isolate it. When you observe that, then it's really hard to determine where the electron is. Kind of in isolation, independent of all other effects.
Okay. So we have some kind of randomness.
So that's why the randomness does
randomness.
not like percolate to free will or something like that.
And even if it would, it wouldn't give you free will, because randomness is not free will.
Yeah.
Like I don't have free
It's
will where the
just
coin lands.
random.
It's random.
It's still caused by that randomness.
I think the thing I admire about your way of thinking about this is that you truly are in peace of not having free will. Like you're an agent that I don't know, or you're a person, you're whatever, however. Like I'm too much. I have too many CSI friends, so I start to talk in weird ways. So you are a person, and you believe in free will. You don't believe in free will, but you still, like you accept this, like you accept that you don't have free will, but you still live on, like.
You can still
you're not like, because I think this is many people when they think of accepting free will, they're like, oh, then my life is like, I have to be super depressed and stuff, but you don't have to. Like,
there's
Okay, so your goals are to explore and to understand how physics, how humans work, to understand
like very
everything.
General ideas about the world. So I'm not going to go into like specific thing in linguistics.
You have to read David Deutsch, the theory. Oh no, he wanted to call this book The Theory of Everything, but I think he called it. Damn, I just read it a few weeks ago. 1 week ago. David Deutsch. I will put it into the show notes. Never mind. It's really good. I recommend everyone to read it, and especially you, because this is exactly what you're interested in. And you want to also have like a bit of a positive impact. And the reason for this is that it's just what you like. There's nothing objectively good about this. Nothing objectively bad about this. It's just the thing that
I've accepted. That I like it. Yeah. Now that also doesn't mean that everyone should just accept like everything, because I think like you can accept things in short term, but like you have to think also about long term. So that's why I think you should question definitely your goals.
So could I give you like an argument and you would change your goals? Like an argument for why another goal is like better for you or for.
It's possible. I could change my goals. Yeah, I cannot tell now, but it's like it's possible.
Yeah. No, I don't want to give you an argument or something, but it's just in theory that. So do you base your goals on argument or on feeling, or?
It's kind of mixed, but feeling is one of the base things, like the base at what is at the base of it. And you also have to think that my feelings also change. It's not a static thing. So then my goals can also change because my feelings can change. And you can accept all of that.
Mm-hmm. But so you really think there would be nothing wrong if you would start taking heroin and like the rest of your 5 years, or let's say 1 year you live, you're like only craving for more and trying to get the next shot? And
I mean, it would be bad for other people.
Yeah.
But for me, like it would be bad for me considering where I'm now. But then my mind would have changed. Like it would be good for me. Like it subjectively would be good for me.
But if you, then everything is good. Wait, is.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, how do you navigate that?
Exactly, because then there's no reason where you anchor, like, say, just the things that feel good are good, and but you can, like, there is something that you want to take heroin but don't want to take heroin, you know? It's like I never tried I never tried with heroin, but like just the example of like your phone, of like TikTok or Instagram or whatever, or that, or for some people it's maybe going to the gym, that they want to go to the gym but they don't want to go to the gym. Like how do you navigate that?
Yeah, like if I think of Instagram, like how do you question that? Like you begin to question, why am I doing this? And I think it's because we have long-term ideas of how we, like, who do we want to be? Like we have this kind of outside perspective of ourselves that we see, like how we want to be. And this has developed through like your entire upbringing and your evolution, cultural evolution, that there's an idea of how you want to be. And this idea mismatches with your short-term goals of just looking at Instagram. You know, like, oh, I should be doing something because I want to be like this. I want to be like a hero or something. So that's why I think cultural evolution is also important, because of the ideas it gives, like the ideas, as I said, of heroes and these stories of like myths. Like these are important for a culture because these provide a kind of anchor point for all the individuals in the culture.
Because if you want to be hero in the culture, has a lot of people that want to be hero, the culture is more likely to.
Yeah, so as an individual, you're developing with the idea of this: what is better? Like what will I be to call myself better? And so once you are becoming that hero, then that's, in an evolutionary sense, helpful for the culture, so culture survives.
Where do you see the difference? Because there is something, sometimes you have like this cognitive dissonance of like wanting to be something but also wanting something else. Like you don't want to eat the chocolate because you know you don't want to get fat or something, but somehow you crave the chocolate, you know? How do you navigate this? Because it's like two feelings fighting against each other. Which feeling is the right one? Or
which feeling is the right one? My mind will just tell me. My mind will just tell me which feeling is the right one. That's the thing.
Man, this is
like, that's why this is a really hard topic to navigate. Like my mind will just tell me. Like I cannot like decide right now. Like my mind's telling me. I can decide right now what my mind will tell me by learning processes. Like maybe I have the idea of, in future, I want my mind to not eat that much chocolate. So my mind, through these molecular processes, telling me that, oh, okay, now I should do some kind of learning process where I am like, I'm hampered or getting some kind of punishment for it.
So you really give up the illusion of control.
The illusion of control illusion of control of your thoughts right now. You still have control because you're deciding your future thoughts.
But this control is also
this control is also
an illusion. Like so it's so interesting. so you're like a machine that is just like going for like you never really decide anything. Like
at least are any theories that we have. They just tell us that we don't decide anything.
Also, like for you specifically, like you go through the world with the belief that you just never really decide something, but somehow you do. Like
it's the same idea of you will what you like. You can want what you do, but you cannot want what you want. So you're still like, you have a will, you have some wants. So you have the feeling of agency. You just don't have the control over your agency. It's very,
So in the situation of the chocolate, you have the control if you eat it or not, but if you want to eat it or not, you don't have the control over it. So you basically don't have
at the moment.
But doesn't that mean that you don't have the control over if you eat it or not as well?
Yeah. Like it was still decided long time back that you will eat chocolate. But it's really a hard thing to tell oftentimes too, when people, like, maybe someone's family member was killed and you're just gonna go and tell them it was just meant to happen. It was like very hard thing to say.
That's true. How did you go about learning to deal with this? I
don't think I had to like learn anything to like deal with this. It was just very natural to, like, people going around like usually don't think of the things like determinism and free will. It's like a very small section of your time when you really think about this. So usually you don't think of it.
So you just go through life.
Just accept whatever is going on.
And when the weird guy asks you for a podcast,
exactly,
then you start. Okay.
Then you have to come up with a rationale for it.
Yeah. I really like the way you think about this. I think this is a way you can, like, if more people would understand, or I don't know if it would be better if more people understand this, but it's, I think this is true. So if you argue that true is better, then it is better. I don't know what better is, so exactly. I can't say if it's better or not.
Then we again come to that question of goals.
Exactly. You need a goal to judge if something is better or not. Yeah, exactly. Nice one. Do you want to ask a question to me, or should I give you, like, I have one closing question that I always ask in the end. But
what's your like idea of how do you define your goals, and how do you think about goals, like, in general?
Now that you made me think a lot about free will, I remember that I also don't really believe in free will. So this is something I have to maybe integrate more into my thinking, because, like, in my everyday life, I tend to forget that I don't believe in free will. Yeah. And the thing is, my everyday life now consists out of a lot of thinking about goals, thinking about philosophy, reading books and stuff, and thinking about what is the most rational thing to do? What are the most rational goals to have? What is the best way to follow those goals? Like the topic of this podcast. What I believe is, like, I was searching for something that's objectively meaningful, you know?
Objective meaning.
Objectively meaningful. The thing that you say doesn't exist. And I say it probably doesn't exist. You're probably right. I give you like 99.999% that you're right. I don't give you 100. Because
I also don't give myself 100.
Maybe if you don't give yourself 100, maybe I can give you a meaning of life now, because I have an argument that builds on this. So if 99.999% sure that nothing matters, this means that 0.0001% possibility that something matters. Do you know what this something is? No, I don't also. So, because for now, we didn't find anything that matters. But it is possible that something matters. So if it's possible that something matters, but you don't know what it is, then the only thing that is objectively meaningful, or the only thing that matters, is searching for this thing. Because, like, imagine, like, your life, if you search for it, there is a higher likelihood of you finding it. And if you find it, then you can do it. So, and if you search for it and you don't find it, then it probably doesn't exist. And then it doesn't matter anyway. So if it doesn't exist, you can do whatever you want. So it's not bad to search for it. If it doesn't exist, searching for it is just as good as any other goal. Yeah. But if it exists, searching for it is the best thing you can do. So that's why I search for it. And this is like my meaning, my goal is just
yeah.
And this is why I said
I think maybe you could, like, if you had to criticize that thing, I could criticize with the idea of what do you mean by matter, like mattering, like something matters.
I mean that
it's kind of a recursive idea, like
I mean that something is objectively good or bad, or something is objectively meaningful, or something matters. Is like this is what I mean by this. Can you still critique it, or is it?
Yeah, like something matters.
Yeah,
but that's still subjective. The idea of mattering.
Okay. Then just exchange the word matter with objectively good or objectively bad or objectively right, objectively.
That's still subjective.
Mm-hmm.
Right, good, and bad. That
no. I explicitly said objectively right. So there's something.
Assume that there's some idea.
Yes.
0.0001%.
That or 0.001% that there is an action that I can take that is better than another action. So even if everything is subjective, there can be still something that is better than something else subjectively. So let's say there is no objective meaning. Let's say let's give it 100% for a second. Just for this. Let's say we find out that it's not possible objective meaning exists. Then it means that the only meaning is subjective. And then there is still something that is the best thing you can do. Like, if there's no objective meaning, nothing matters. So
the thing is, like, why do you really want the objective meaning and are not satisfied with the subjective meaning?
Because for every subjective meaning, you can find arguments against it, or every subjective meaning that I found till now. So it's like
what would be the argument, given any subjective meaning?
Be happy.
Yeah, what's the argument against?
It doesn't matter when you're that.
But still, that's okay. But I'll still be happy.
Yeah, but I agree. But not if there's something higher. Not the thing is, I tried to find. I think that's a good way. There are different goals that have different validities. There is this goal of being happy and stuff. And maybe there's something that is higher than being happy. There's something that is more right, more better, whatever. Subjectively, objectively, call it however you want. But maybe there's something that is better than the thing I believe now to be right, or more right than the thing that I believe now to be right. And so I think the most right thing I can do is to search for this thing that is more right. To try to find the most right thing, or the most the best thing.
For me, that's also a valid goal.
So that's why I said
for me, that's also subjective, but still a valid goal. All subjective goals are still valid.
Yeah. It's interesting that you say it like this. Yeah, but true. But even if as a subjective goal, I think there is more. I try to find. Maybe there is no ultimate this or maybe there's no ultimate truth. Maybe there's no ultimate objective. Maybe there's no ultimate better, but
subjectively better.
There is for sure ultimate truth or whatever. But there's a scale. You can get more into this direction. You can do better actions. Even after your own definition, actions can be better than others. Even in a subjective way, some things are better than others. And objective, maybe this thing that I call objective meaning is just the thing that is subjectively better than other subjective goals.
That's
because exactly, because nice. Yo. So because we have the subjective. Yeah, we have subjective goals, and some subjective goals are subjectively better than other subjective goals. And I want to try to find like the best
subjective goal.
Or if there is an ultimate goal, which I strongly believe is wrong, but I don't know. Then I would like to find this one. But if there's only like a best or a better subjective goal, then I try to find the best subjective goal that I can find. And the best subjective goal that I could find till now, and I would argue is the best subjective goal for nearly any human in this world, is to try to find better subjective goals. And this is the search for the best. If you call it like this, the best subjective goal. And that's why I said, when you said you want to understand the world, that we can make a team, because I want to because to find the best subject, I want to understand everything, man. I love
like the world is so interesting.
Yes. Yes. And like the mixture, like the passion part that you said, I have it as well, but it's also like connected to my meaning. Like I really want to understand everything. It's also the reason I do this podcast, man. It's like,
I mean, I also think goals, like how I think about goals is still in that evolutionary term, and goals are again something that evolution has developed so that we can just the pattern that has goals survives.
Say this again. I don't.
Like whatever pattern, like a human or an ant or whatever has goals, just survives. Like you don't have goals, your actions are all random. So goals are like an organizing principle for your actions.
So you don't choose a goal and act then. You act and then.
Like evolution has just developed this idea that we need to have goals, because otherwise things are just happening. Just happening. But we have the idea of that I have a goal and I'm going to work towards that goal.
We have the idea of I.
Yeah. The self too. The self and goal are very linked. That I am working towards a goal. So you can question what is I, you can question what is goal.
You could argue that I don't exist, or that you don't, like yourself don't exist.
Evolutionary, it's just a tool. Like,
do you believe that you exist?
Yeah.
That why?
I have no good answer for that. I think therefore I am is the best, I think.
But do you think that you exist as like a agent, as like a being?
As a self.
As a self, yourself.
That's one of the questions that I don't have exact answers for, and it really links to the consciousness part, I think, at least, that you have this idea of the oneness also, like the unity of the self too, that you're one being. You are just atoms, a collection of atoms, but we still have this idea that we are someone who's looking as an observer, this idea of the observer. So I do think that has some evolutionary development, at least that's what my deterministic ideas would say. But it's still hard to say where does that come from exactly. And that's why I'm interested in the cognitive sciences and neuroscience too. Like, how does self develop? How does consciousness develop? How does emotions develop? So not just doing like, how can I do 1 + 1 = 2? Like not a computer, but like the feeling. And the feeling is like, I want to understand the human experience, the feeling.
Like this way of thinking. You study cognitive science and artificial intelligence, right?
Yeah.
Why did you choose cognitive science and artificial intelligence and not just cognitive science?
Like I had done like coding before, and I knew about AI, so I think it's just a good tool. But otherwise, if you would go for like psychology, I think I'm not as much interested in things like assessment that you have to do a lot in psychology.
Wait, assessment like for mental illness and stuff, or?
Yeah, there are many things like assessments and courses like that, or even social psychology. I'm more interested in the individual feeling.
Yeah. Oh man, maybe I really have to switch. Because I somehow agree. And
it's like all connected. So anyway, like I'm doing psychology courses too. Like in every block, I'm taking all the psychology courses because they're also very interesting.
You just take them as extra?
Yeah, it's very interesting.
You go to the exams?
Yeah.
Nice. But does it use you anything?
Yeah, definitely. Like, it does give me perspective. I think, I attended philosophy of mind, and that gave me like the same ideas that I was talking about of questioning the self and what is self, what is consciousness. It's not like I have always thought about that. Like these are things that I gain from that. And just going to like course like you have brain and behavior, just understanding the brain the more. Yeah. And also personality and psychopathologies, which is also very interesting to me. Like, because personality and psychology in general is like a middle layer of abstraction for me. Like we are developing abstractions of introversion, conscientiousness, like these things. And these are just valid ways to understand the world. There's no like introversion written inside of our minds. They're just abstractions.
Yeah.
So how can we make the best abstraction that allows us to understand the human mind? Because human mind is like trillions of atoms. You cannot understand trillions of atoms. You need to abstract. So psychology is interesting because it allows us to say, oh, we have to develop abstractions.
Yeah. Okay, man. I have one point I really like that you just take courses of interest. I love meeting people that are like super motivated and want to learn stuff. Just like it's so. I'm so happy that I'm here because I meet so many people that are like that just love to learn and explore and stuff. And when I was in Germany, like nothing about Germany. In Germany, there are also people like this, but like with where I was with my environment, I was feeling like I'm the only one that just like sit on my laptop for 10 hours a day and just read books. Like if I could, I would read every book. I would go to every fucking course in this whole university. I would do everything, you know? I would try to learn everything.
Yeah, I really know that feeling. I also didn't have like friends when I was growing up in school who would have that kind of mindset. Yeah. So I would tell them like, hey, you know, there's like some electricity going on in your hands, you know, some neurons and stuff like that. They would just laugh at me like, electricity, what are you saying?
Yeah. You come from India, right?
Yeah.
Maybe how did it come? Why are you here now? Like how do you go from India to Tilburg in the Netherlands?
Yeah, I was really searching for this kind of degree which combines cognitive science and AI. Because AI can be a really good tool to study cognitive sciences. But I expected more. I don't think I got as much here, till now at least.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I really wanted to combine them. And in India, we don't have as many good courses in relation to that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's really, this degree is not like everywhere. It's very, scant.
It's maybe weird that those questions are now a little bit lighter, but I think it's good for both our heads. But how is Germany? Oh, no, not Germany. Sorry. How are the Netherlands different from India?
Oh, I think it's a lot different. Like once you go there, like when I came here first time, like I didn't feel like as much different. I didn't feel that. But in these summer vacations, I went back to India and I saw like the world is so different. Just by the density of people and the weather, and it's so chaotic. It's just a very different world from here.
Yeah.
And you know, when I was like, I would go into restaurants in India and I would eat, and then I would think like, this is like the best dish that has ever been created. Like whatever I would eat, because somehow like my taste buds were like, some attenuated or something here in the Netherlands.
So when you were in India this summer, everything tasted like amazing.
Amazing, yeah. And I was looking around like, why are people not talking about this? Like, this is so amazing. Like, this restaurant should be known like worldwide.
Nice. Maybe I have to go to India. Okay, so mainly everything is more chaotic and more people and just...
Yeah, and like I guess there are no like very general ideas in India, because you know, your neighbors can really have their own gods and stuff like that, their own beliefs. You have no idea, but they will have their own set of gurus, their own history and mythologies, and all of your neighbors will have their different gods and stuff like that.
Wait, is Hinduism mainly, or also Buddhism, or
yeah, like Hinduism mainly.
Yeah.
But it's really, the word doesn't do justice to the actual ideas there in Hinduism, because it's more like a outside word, this Hinduism thing. It's much more diverse.
So there is no one Hinduism.
Yeah.
There are a lot of different religions. Okay. Did you, or do you believe, probably not, but
I think because of just my family never believed. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I never grew up with the idea of God.
Okay, so I would have loved to ask you about your funky whatever god that you, when you say like your neighbors have like something totally different than you, then it's like maybe you have like an interesting story what your god is like.
But it's like there are not many atheists in India. Like,
so you are really
compared to here, it's very religious in India. Yeah.
So your family is very special
very different.
In that way.
Yeah,
different
yeah. So like I would even debate with teachers in classroom, and they would be very.
How does it work if everyone believes in somehow different gods? Is this the case that people believe in different gods, or?
Yeah, sort of different, because if you're believing in 10 gods, then 7 of them are common and 3 of them can vary. It's like that. Yeah. And then you can have one god that you designate as your like the main god of your family or something. But you still believe in other gods, but that's the main god.
So but let's say I believe like in 10 gods and you believe in 7 of them as well, but 5 others and not the 3 of me that are left, you know? So now you have 5 gods that I don't believe in, and I have 3 gods that you don't believe in, and 7 we overlap. People don't
just go to different temples. That's it. Like maybe same temples if it's the same god. Like there's no like need to fight about that. It's just okay. You're just ignorant about it. I just know more, but that's it.
So people are just like, you 3 gods. They are like, sorry that
you just don't know the world better. Like I know it better. It's just that's it.
I don't have to convince you.
Yeah. So the idea is more about ignorance rather than about you have to follow this god.
But how do people? So people don't even argue about what is right or what is wrong.
I mean, not in terms of like what religion, like what god is right or wrong. Yeah.
So.
Which is very strange. Like
this is really strange because you say they are ignorant, but you're not willing to ask them why they believe this and like what their reasons are and what your reasons are.
It's very strange. Like I've never grown up like that, so I don't know how that works. But it's like, and when you like engage with someone in debate, it's like very strange because it feels to you that they know that something is wrong, but they will still like keep believing it. Like you know that person knows that there's something wrong with the way they think about gods and religions, but still it's like.
So you tried to debate with teachers and stuff, or
I mean not that willingly. I think my brother was really like just going out there, and he got like some marks cut off because It's really. But me, I was like the silent kid in class sitting at the corner bench.
Yeah.
But only when people would ask me, I was like, oh, I don't believe in it. And they were like, maybe you do believe in it. Maybe you do. Like, I heard some people say that you do believe in God, but you just don't want to believe that you believe in God or something like that.
True. That's, some people, that's, and maybe some were also just, no, he's just ignorant.
Yeah.
He just doesn't know.
Yeah. Or when some calamity will come upon you, then you will think about God or something like that.
Yeah. And that's so interesting. So different.
Yeah.
And
but it's fun. Like, it's also fun. You have so many like festivals and all of them are so much fun with the chaos.
Yeah. Nice. And it's really cool. I have one closing question that I always ask. And this question is, what book or YouTube video or podcast or like any kind of distilled knowledge would you advise people to read, watch, listen to? It's one thing. No? It's not one book, it's one either book, podcast, YouTube video, whatever you like.
Okay, I'll choose one book. There are better books, I think, but if you just have to read one book, and I would make it relevant to the topics that you're talking. It's a book called Behave by Robert Zabulki, which just goes into the idea of, the humans have developed evolutionary and the same kind of deterministic idea.
Okay.
And more into the neuroscience aspects too.
Okay. Behave, Robert what?
Robert Sapolsky.
Sapolsky, okay. For you, beginning of...
what? That's one book. Can I recommend even more? Like for all the
one more.
Like all the nerds and those sort of people who really want to understand like things like physics and stuff like that, philosophy. There's a book called The Road to Reality.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very tough book, very, very tough. By The Road to Reality by Roger Penrose. He's a physicist. I think a Nobel Prize-winning physicist.
Yeah, I know him actually.
It's a really good book because it will start with just defining what is numbers and very philosophically, and will take you in 30-40 chapters to cutting edge of quantum mechanics, and you will really understand general relativity. Yeah.
Damn, this is amazing.
Yeah.
Wait, why did you have Behave? Why did you advise Behave?
That's for the processes that people, I think, should know that what are behind our behaviors.
So it's exactly what we talked about today. Yeah. Okay, nice. Yeah. Damn, I want to read both of them. For you, I have Beginning of Infinity by David Deutsch.
Yeah.
I remembered the name. He has two books. Beginning of Infinity and something with multiverse or something. Trust me.
Yeah, I think I was searched.
Trust me, please. It's exactly what you... Okay.
Yeah, thanks for that.
Thank you, man. I really enjoyed talking to you.
Yeah, me too. It was kind of felt like privilege.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's really good.
This has been a Rational Optimization podcast. I hope you learned something. See you in the next one.